For the past few years, Transport for Wales has been introducing new rolling stock across its network, which is already improving rail journeys for passengers in both Wales and England. The biggest single transformation, however, is arguably the upgrade of the Valleys lines in South East Wales. The electrification programme, which has been underway for around 5 years, has entered the final phase of delivery, and the first trains began operating on the new overhead wires at the end of 2024. I spoke in detail about the electrification programme last year, so I'll leave a link to those videos in the description below. It's a project that I would also like to revisit, so make sure you subscribe so you don't miss any future South Wales Metro videos. The main takeaway from those videos was the fact that TfW has chosen to use discontinuous electrification, which means that bi-mode and tri-mode multiple units were ordered to operate on the newly electrified lines. The Class 398 CityLink bi-mode battery electric tram trains will operate from Treherbert, Aberdare and Merthyr Tydfil into Cardiff, whilst the Class 756 tri-mode multiple units based on the ubiquitous Stadler Flirt platform will operate from Corriton and Rumney to Brenarth, Barry Island and Bridgend. However, the Class 756s have been in use on the Aberdare and Merthyr Tydfil lines since last year. This has allowed TfW to bring forward some of the benefits of electrification prior to the introduction of the Class 398s, which are currently undergoing testing. The transformation of rail services is, however, not limited to the core Valley lines, and passengers travelling between Ebervale, Newport and Cardiff, and from Cheltenham Spa to Maesteg, will also benefit from the introduction of new diesel multiple units based on the same Flirt platform as a Class 756. This leads to one very important question. Just what is the difference between the Class 756 and the Class 231, as they both look identical? The one big external difference is the 11 Class 231s come as 4-car sets with a central power car, whereas the Class 756s come in 3 and 4-car formations with the same central power car. But from a passenger perspective, other than the number of cars, there isn't much that separates them. Both units have low floors, which should allow for step-free access, depending on if or when platforms are altered to allow this. They both have the same seating layout and same seats, and share the visible large box over the bogies. This stepped area is key to the step-free access. Unlike the Class 777s, also built by Stadler, and which also have low floors, the 231s and 756s have larger diameter wheels, as they are designed to operate at higher speeds on the main line, whereas the 777s are used on more intensive metro style services, so have slightly smaller wheels, and as such only have a slight ramp from the doorway to the area above the bogies to allow the clearance needed. The floors on the 231 and 756s are mostly level, with the exception of the ends of the carriages nearest the cab, where there is a noticeable raised section. To make space where the carriages connect, however, designers have opted to use a raised area which is just underneath the seating. This allows the walkway through the train to remain level. Unfortunately, unlike Merseyrail, Transport for Wales and Network Rail have not yet adjusted all of the platforms to what is called the standard offset and height. So there is currently variation in platform height across the network. The Merseyrail network is mostly self-contained, so it was a bit more straightforward to adjust all of the platforms, whereas the 231s and 756s will operate to stations which are the responsibility of Network Rail to upgrade or modify. But I believe TfW do want to ensure that step-free access is available on all routes on which the 231s, 756s and Class 398s operate. What this means currently is, at some stations, such as Cardiff Central, you will still see ramps to to allow for wheelchair access. But as the 231s and 756s have low floors, they have specific ramps, which are different from those used on other units such as Class 197s, which have a larger gap between the train and platform. But even with the current mix of platform heights, the low floors does still benefit people with prams, cyclists and those with luggage. And step-free access is still possible at some or many stations. As mentioned previously, the Flirt units share the same interiors, which includes the rather comfortable seats, which seem to buck the trend for ironing board seats fitted to many new trains recently. They also have the same amenities that passengers expect, including table seating, an accessible toilet, charging facilities, and drop-down tables. Overall, I think they're superb units, which ride very well and are very quiet for the most part. This leads me on to the biggest difference between the Class 231s and Class 756s, and that is the number of diesel engines per set. Both of the unit types have what is referred by some people as a thrash cabinet, and for good reason. This is because unlike most standard DMUs, which have underfloor engines, the Flirts have power cars, within which the engines are housed. So if you're sitting near the power car of a Class 231, then the engine sound is noticeable. But the sound is arguably less intrusive than on trains with underfloor engines. And if you're sat well away from the power car, then the trains sound just like electric multiple units. The Class 231s are powered only by diesel engines, and are designed to operate on the main line at up to 90 miles per hour. They therefore have 4 Deutz V8 engines located within the power car. The Class 756s, on the other hand, will operate on electrified routes, powered by 25 kV overhead lines. But they will also operate on the Vale of Glamorgan line, operating as far as Bridgend, for which there are no plans currently to electrify the line. The unit will therefore have to operate on battery and diesel power between Cardiff Queen Street, Penarth, Barry Island and Bridgend. They will also operate at a maximum speed of 75 miles per hour, so therefore do not need as much power as the Class 231s. As such, they only have one diesel engine, which I believe will be used to top up the battery between Queen Street and Bridgend. The batteries fitted to the 4 car sets have a capacity of 559 kilowatt hours, whilst the 3 car sets have 447 kilowatt hour capacity batteries. Whilst the Class 231s and 756s may be technically different, and a bit more noise may come from the 231 power cars, both unit types provide a substantial upgrade from the outgoing Class 150s. And I think the Flirt Derive units, both electric and diesel, are considered some of the best units on the UK rail network. Just before I go, I'd like to say a big thank you to Bob of Bob's Rail Relics for the clips of the Class 756s in service. There'll be a link to his excellent channel in the description below.